One afternoon last year, I was out walking our family dog, Bella. A neighbor drove up beside me. She pointed out 2 stray dogs. "Be careful," she said. We talked a little bit more, and then she drove away. Those 2 stray dogs, they circled around, they attacked Bella. In trying to get Bella away from them, I was bit on the hand by one of the dogs. And when I think back about that experience, I don't remember being afraid. I think it's because that physical response to fear we have, that fight or flight, it just happens. And so I was that mama bear protecting her cub, and I did what any mama bear would do. I went to my garage, I pulled out the largest lawn tool I could find, and with my adrenaline-fueled body, I came back ready to fight, and it worked. My family has a joke now. Look out for Mama. She's got a shovel, and she knows how to use it. What are you afraid of?
Yeah, I think it feels good. Thank you.
I teach public speaking. And you are probably all too familiar with the physical response that you have when you know you have to speak in front of a group. The sweaty palms, the heart racing out of your chest, and the butterflies in your stomach. But remember show and tell days back in kindergarten? Do you remember being so excited to share that book, that toy, that treasure that you had brought in with your teacher and with your classmates? Show and tell days were the best days. But now, rather than being excited, this is now something that we fear. When we're afraid, we tell ourselves things like, "I'm so nervous. The audience must be able to hear my voice shaking." Or we tell ourselves, "I'm such a terrible speaker. No one wants to listen to me." And the way perception works is that when we tell ourselves these things, that we select out information from the audience that confirms what we're thinking. So we notice an audience member yawning. And this confirms that, yes, we are boring the whole entire audience with what we have to say. Or we notice an audience member fiddling with their phone. And this confirms that, yes, there is not a single person here who wants to hear what I have to say. Now, the truth is, the audience member who yawned, that person was up all night, perhaps with a sick child. The audience member who was fiddling with their phone, well, not here, but the audience member who was fiddling with their phone, that person was waiting for a very important phone call or text to come through. In other words, we make it all about us and our performance. So how can we change the way that we think about and how we respond to the fear of public speaking? The key is in designing a response to fear. Designing a response to fear can be done using what are called inoculation messages. So the same way you would go to the doctor and get a vaccine so that you don't get the measles, inoculation messages can reframe our response to fear of public speaking. In a study done in Australia and reported in 2017, it worked like this. Students were assigned a presentation to give. They were divided into 2 groups. In the control group, the students were given an instruction sheet for how the presentation should be done. The other group was given the same instruction sheet, but this instruction sheet had inoculation messages added to it. And the inoculation messages were addressed common fears that people have about public speaking. The result of the experiment was that the students that received the instruction sheet with inoculation messages reported lower anxiety and greater effectiveness. So let's say you have to give a presentation in front of a group. Your inoculation messages might sound something like this: "My nervousness is normal. The audience wants to hear what I have to say. They are not judging me." So, this doesn't mean that we sidestep the actual hard work of putting the presentation together. We still would need to decide what it is we want to say, making sure that the message comes through clearly. Then, once we know what that message is, we practice, and we practice, and we practice some more. And then when we notice those negative messages trying to sabotage us, we fight back with inoculation messages. And the result is that communication can occur. And when communication occurs, meaning is shared, resulting in the creation of a community. Community means we don't all have to agree, but we listen and we hear each other out. We respect and we value each other's opinions. The connection that leads to community happens for me when I allow myself to be vulnerable. For me, that means letting others know that I am a breast cancer survivor. Even now, 4 years later, cancer is difficult for me to talk about because it changed the way that I think about myself. I thought of myself as healthy and strong. I thought of myself as independent and self-sufficient, yet there were many times during treatment when I had to depend on others, both at home and at work. And there were many times when I felt physically and emotionally weak. Allowing others to see our weaknesses is hard. But when I allow others to see my weaknesses in my classes, my students feel open to do the same. And I remember one student in particular. Her fear of public speaking was extreme. She had social anxiety. It made it difficult to interact even with a small group of students. So to get up in front of a whole class was terrifying for her. When it was her turn to give her speech, I knew she was well prepared. She walked slowly to the front of the room. She started her speech. She stumbled a little, and then she stopped. And what happened next, I will never forget. The other students in the class, they started speaking words of encouragement back to her. You can do this. You've got it. They told her they wanted to hear more. They spoke those inoculation messages to her, and she was able to finish the speech. Did her speech change the world? No. But it changed our classroom, and it changed the way this student thought of herself and others. Will we allow the fear of public speaking to keep us silent? We can design a response to fear that gives voice to our ideas. The result is connection and the creation of community. And I can think of no greater legacy than that. What would you say if you weren't afraid?